Everybody, it's your boy Matty B, Epis Sports Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging tight. All right, we're about to get the show on the road. Let's hit the intro now.
Broadcasting from the capital of sports, it's the Matty B Show. Right here on Epis Sports Radio. Matty B on Epis Sports Radio.
It's swung on and into the air. To deep right center. That ball is high. That is far. It is gone.
Epis Sports Radio.
Very deep as White hits one deep to left field. Headley back near the wall. It's in the air. The Mets win the ball game.
A 60-point game for Kobe Bryant. It's up by 3. It's over. Eric Decker holds it in. The Jets win in overtime.
Epis Sports Radio. Epis Sports Radio.
That's right. What's going on, everybody? How are you doing? It is Monday afternoon. We got 13 past 4. Sorry for the little bit of late start today. All right, I'm riding solo. We got Dubois down in Florida. He's working today. All right, he's taking a sabbatical. He's off. He's doing his own thing. Nothing wrong with that. But you got me. We're here. All right, for a 4:13 now, Epis on a Monday afternoon. I hope you're enjoying your President's Day wherever you're enjoying it. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you're watching this later on the YouTube or Twitch, thank you for tuning in as well. Really appreciate that. If you haven't already done so, like, subscribe, follow, the whole thing. All right. Thank you for all your support. I really do appreciate it. Folks, what are we doing? What are we watching this weekend? All right, with everything that's been going on. Oi, what's up, Shawnee? Zero's in the house. How we doing? What are we watching, folks? All right, everything that's going on this weekend. You got a little bit of all-star festivities with the NBA. You got a little bit of all-star festivities with the NHL. We talked about it in the previous show. And not for nothing, if you're not a sports person, you got the 50th anniversary of SNL going on. They had a whole 3-day thing going on Friday. They had the concert. It's 3 hours long. Yesterday, I think, I didn't even catch what they were doing yesterday. I was so busy with the show and everything else that was going on. But I think it was either like they were just looking back at old episodes, things like that, more for the 50th anniversary stuff. I got to check it out today. Nasty, what's going on, bro? Thank you for stopping by. And then today, you got, no, not today. Last night, at 8 p.m., it was the another, I think, 3-hour live special for SNL as well. So if you're into comedy, if you've been following SNL over the years, it's definitely something for you to watch as well. I haven't gotten around to watching the full special. Me and my wife just finished the concert yesterday. That was pretty dope. If you didn't have a chance to catch that, a freaking Post Malone was on guitar, acting as Cobain with Dave Grohl on the drums, and they were bringing back Nirvana a little bit. It was pretty dope, so. Whatever you're into, there's a lot going on this weekend, a lot to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Nasty in the chat, Zero, and Mooncakes over there. Parenthood at its finest, always watching things late. Well, this is what we got to do, right? We got to find ways to fit this in, so there's so much to go around nowadays. There's so much to watch. It's hard to keep up with everything. I'm behind on 50 million shows out there. So, it's just nice that I could watch some of these things and, have the time, especially managing everything that's been going on lately, especially with the show. So, absolutely. First things first, though, if you were into the All-Star stuff with the NBA, we were talking about it on the last show, a little bit of lackluster All-Star weekend leading up to the actual tournament-style All-Star NBA event. And again, I didn't even tune in while it was live yesterday. I had too much going on for me. I watched it in post, and not to my surprise, it wasn't really competitive. There wasn't really anything to watch. Dubby and I were talking about it, and Dubby's hope was that the Rising Stars would bring an extra edge to the tournament. But and I guess, they did for what it's worth. They played, but again, it wasn't at the competitive level that we would have hoped. And ultimately, they got bumped anyway. The team that Curry was on ended up winning. What team was that? Steph Curry ended up winning. It was Team Shaq, 41-25 over Team Chuck. So Shaq, Chuck, there was a Rising Stars team and Team Kenny as well. That were each individual of them picked, and then the Rising Stars came out of, I guess, the bracket leading up to it. And again, it didn't do anything for viewership, in my opinion. I wasn't even tuned in it live, barely cared about it in post. So I can only imagine watching it, if you're really that interested. I just wonder sometimes because, does the younger viewer, does the little kid, this little 10, 12-year-old really care? Is he tuned into this? Because that's, I think, ultimately who it matters more for, is them, because for me, I'm going to tune in, through different mediums and whether it be live or through, post-production, anything like that. Like, I'm going to tune in regardless, but, at a different clip, for the younger viewer, especially me growing up, I like, I look forward to these things. I want to see the All-Stars at their best, but, obviously the competitive level has gone down over the years, and why that is, I don't know. W argued money. Money has certainly gotten in the way, but at some point, we got to decide, I think it comes down to the player. I mean, you make your money during the regular season, it's still, 5, 10 times, 20 times more than the average, human being, or even family, pulls in on a yearly basis. And, at the end of the day, you are playing a game. You got to give back to the product. You got to give back to what, you are part of, I feel like. And, I think it comes down to the player to just, be there and be competitive and, bring that level that we'd like to see. You see it in the All-Star game with hockey, in this Four Nations tournament that's going on. Like I mentioned in the last episode, you got USA Canada, 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, and virtually this is an exhibition game that is meaningless. Yes, it is tournament style again, similar to what the NBA is doing, but the level of competitiveness is far exceeds what we're seeing in the NBA. So why that is, I don't know. And you do have guys that annually are making way less in comparison to the NBA players. But there's an extra edge to it. There's just, it's a little bit political. You see it, and there's nothing when it comes down to the NBA. You don't see anything. And, guys, my biggest problem with the All-Star weekend, and it happened yesterday, was with LeBron James, I feel like. James, I think about an hour before the game, maybe even less, deciding that he is not going to suit up, gets questioned in a press conference and decides that he's not going to show up and play. What's going on there? That's completely unacceptable. Not for nothing, you're taking away a roster spot from a guy that could have participated in the game. Meanwhile, you got chauffeured around, taking pictures, things like that. Couldn't even suit up in uniform just for the sake of a picture. You had to just show up there in your regular street clothes, take the pictures, things like that, do the interviews, and then ultimately, let the media know that, hey, I won't be playing tonight. that could have been another deserving guy that, was able to play. And, because I think LeBron's excuse something with the foot, it's irrelevant, honestly. It just seems like a poor excuse for him to sit out. Again, not good for the brand. Your biggest guy, that's been for the last decade or more, he's been doing it for too long. And he's been the face of the league in the span of that time. For him to just last second cut out and say, yeah, no, I'm not playing tonight, in the most, arguably outside of the playoffs, in the most, prestigious moment of the NBA season, when you're looking at it as a whole, and your top guy's not there. And then you get the other example of in the skills challenge of CP3 and Wembanyama seemingly decided to cheat the Rising Stars challenge, ultimately getting DQ'd, and right off the bat because of their efforts. And again, another bad luck. This is why the ratings are low and it's not entertaining, because you got this going on. Meanwhile, in the NHL, you got guys pummeling each other, pummeling their faces in 9 seconds into the game. Matter of fact, 2 seconds into the game. So it's like, what's going on? What do we need to do? Should we change it? Should we just drop it completely? Where's the competitiveness that we used to see, like we've seen in the past? You had Kobe Bryant locking up, MJ, locking up LeBron, really bringing it, making these guys actually, play. I know, late in the years past, we've seen them, towards the fourth quarter start to ramp it up a little bit, but that's, we don't want to see that. And virtually last night, it was like non-competitive throughout, even in that last game. So, I don't know. Something needs to change. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the product. It's keeping me away. I just worry about the younger viewer. I guess ultimately NBA is going to be fine because they get the viewership during the playoffs anyway. So I don't think there's much of a concern there. But you got to wonder. We talked about it in one of the clips that we posted on Epis about McClung, potentially him bringing back the dunk contest. Will it? I don't know. Looking forward, the only way it's going to bring more viewership is if you get some of the big stars in the game, like a John Morant, who said that he would potentially join in. All right, cool. Get him in there. Maybe a 1-year-old LeBron decides to come back and play, in the dunk contest. Probably not going to happen. But, it'd be nice to see the big flyers of the league. Giannis, why not? Throw your towel in there. I think part of it is they know they're not going to win, but you're not going to have a guy like McClung in there if... I guess you got to put McClung in there now because he won 3 straight. Just for, if he decides, hey, I would like to do it, I think Silva has no choice but to put him in. But if you got, I don't know how many they start with, 5 or 6 guys. If you got a bunch of top-tier guys that are willing to participate, I think McClung, because he doesn't even start in the NBA, I think he's got to take the back seat and, not participate in the dunk contest. But you give credit to him. He's able to do it 3 times in a row, and now he has a chance to go after history and go for 4 in a row in the slam dunk contest for whatever that's worth, if that means anything to you. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how it's going forward. What's going to happen with that going forward. I don't have many ideas on it outside of potentially, giving these guys a little bit more money to play with. I think that's one thing that could intrigue them. It's kind of sad that you have to entice them with more money, but if that's what's going to get them to do it, that's what's going to get them to do it. I don't know any other answer there. But what's going on with all of you? Thank you for stopping by in the chat today. My co-host is working a double today, so he's doing his thing. I'm riding solo. Just looking around right now at the schedule for this Four Nations tournament that's going on. Again, USA, that big win over Canada, 3-1. Huge matchup for them. And actually, okay. I'm looking at it now, so I didn't know. So, this game must have just went final then. So, Canada beat Finland 5-3. This had to happen earlier today. Canada beat Finland 5-3. And Canada will go to the final game on Thursday, February 20th, 8 p.m. It's going to be on ESPN. USA, Canada in the final one. So, listen, that's going to be interesting. Definitely got to tune in for that. After what we've seen with the Canadian fan base in Montreal booing during the national anthem, and then 3 fights in a matter of 9 seconds between the teams, ultimately Canada falling 3-1, or a rather convincing win from USA. Really dominated for the most part in that game. Some could argue it was a little bit closer than you'd think, but on the scoreboard it was convincing in the end. And again, this team, Connor McDavid with a goal today, Nathan McKinnon, Braden Point. This team can get it done, and we're going to see a lot of fireworks on Thursday. I think a lot of people will be tuned in for that. Again, it's an exhibition game that has no meaning, and you were just seeing these nations go at it, and going at it in the best possible way. You like to see it. I think there's nothing like it. Baseball all-star festivities, it comes down, to the home run derby and just the all-star game itself. And baseball's just different. It's not the same, but there is a high intensity when it comes down to the all-star game for them as well. So, no player wants to get striking out. No player wants to, give up a home run. So, guys are competing, but it's just a different breed when it comes to hockey. It's fast-paced. It's everything going on. Basketball has the same recipe for success, but again, when the players are not, matching that same type of energy, it's not going to go anywhere, so. Soccer doesn't really have anything like that. Football, forget it. Nowadays they'd be playing flag football. I mean, it's just kind of embarrassing what's going on there. So, spring training is underway. Guys have basically fully reported, and now we're already starting to hear some injuries. Here in Stanton's out for a considerable amount of time. I believe tendonitis, right? For Giancarlo. And, man, for the Yankees, this is the same old story with him. Nothing new here, Giancarlo told reporters that he is dealing with a very high level of pain in both elbows and is unsure if he will be ready for opening day, as he hasn't swung a bat in 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, I mean, it's typical Giancarlo, man. He's going to be fine in the long run. Last year, 27 home runs, 233 average. This is what this guy's going to give you, but it matters whether or not he's healthy come playoff time. If he's there for you, then you're not worried about it. The Yankees are good enough and deep enough that they'll figure out a way to survive without him throughout the regular season. So don't panic, Yankee fans, just yet. You're fine. You're good. It's okay. Again, this is something you got to be used to with him. He's the guy's made of glass, and you almost expect it at this point. He doesn't need to start the regular season right away. He's going to ramp up nice and slow on Giancarlo's time, and he'll be ready to go come summertime. He'll ramp it up. I have no doubt, and you'll see a different Giancarlo. On the other side of the boroughs in Queens, you got Frankie Montez reporting that he's going to be out for a considerable amount of time. And man, that's not what I want to hear from the Mets. And I've already had my concerns when it comes to their pitching staff, but the fact that this guy is potentially out for a considerable time. They're saying that he shut down 6 to 8 weeks with a lat strain. Tim Healy of Newsday reporting that, not good. I can't, live to see this team, be short to start the season, when in regards to pitching. They need help. I've been saying this, I think their offense will be fine with Soto and Alonso and Lindor and Vientos and all those boys, McNeil, Nimmo. I like it. I like, Beatty. I like all these guys, Acuna, Mauricio. I like this lineup. This lineup's going to be okay. Hopefully, maybe they can add another piece, trade deadline, something like that. But I'm not even sure where you would go and add another piece right then. But again, unless we're talking Vlad Guerrero, and then that's the whole different story. But, the concern with the Mets pitching staff. And, Montez going down, again, all right, 8 weeks, I'll see, July, basically. I don't know. And hopefully ready to go then. And, who knows what you get out of Montez to begin with. It could be a good year, it could be a bad year. But this concerns me. It concerns me more, for the Mets. At least you're not really hearing anything like that. At least with the Yankees, they have a surplus of pitching. I don't know what, they're going to plan on doing with Marcus Stroman. You hear about Stroman, saying that he would not, settle for a bullpen role with the Yankees. I honestly think this guy is forcing his way out of the Bronx, and I think there's a chance that Marcus Stroman does not start the team with the New York Yankees in Game 1 of the regular season. I think that's on the table here, especially if he's not willing. I don't think he's good enough to be in the starting pitching, unless you're going to a 6-man rotation, and all right, then fine, you can, throw him in the mix, I guess. But even then, not necessary. Too much money to be retaining anyway. It's kind of dead money for me. Not a fan of keeping him around, especially with the comments that he made in the media. Already he just rubs you the wrong way, man. And me being a Met fan, seeing what he's like, having him on the Mets for a little bit. Good, gritty guy, he'll give you a good outing every now and then. But I don't think it's a dire need for the Yankees to retain him right now. So, I could see the Mets honestly bringing him back, if the Yankees do decide to release him. I could definitely see that on the table. Or Stroman going to a team like Toronto again, something like that. I think that's potentially as well on the table. But going back to the Mets, this is concerning, to say the least. You got a decent squad, but Christian Scott, Tommy John surgery last year. Paul Blackburn also undergone a spinal procedure. Kodai Senga missed most of 2024. So it's like, what are you getting here? What are you getting out of this team? It's just, that's where the problem is going to lie with them. I have no doubt that they're going to smash their way to some victories. They should be a playoff team regardless. I'd like to think that they could find a way to win the division. But again, it lies with their pitching. I honestly think the bullpen will be okay. I think they are on the right track with that. Again, bullpen's kind of year to year. You get guys that were good last year, not going to be as good this year. So there's no guarantee in that either. But you gotta have some faith. You gotta have some faith that these guys, will be there. But I think ultimately, there's a lot of question marks. But it's either put up or shut up. All right, this is the time for both these teams. Yankees, they've just been this close for the last couple of years. Mets, you got all this money being thrown. They've been this close. You got almost got to the promised land last year. You got to follow that up. There's a lot of expectations going into this year. It's not going to be okay. If these teams, really, for both of them, if they fall short of a World Series, it's not going to be okay for either team. This is it. They gotta find a way to make this happen. This is the year for them. I don't think any team should let up. Offensively, both are juggernauts. Both can beat you on any given night. And as long as the rotation's matched up correctly, and all things goes right, more so for the Yankees, you're looking at two very, very, very good teams. All right. So time is it now? 4:38. Been going for 40 minutes now. Little NBA. Little NBA. Got to talk about it. I know. Before we get into it again, just want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, you see the handles on the screen there. You got Epis Benedetti on Instagram. That's my page. You got Epis Radio, the official Instagram page for Epis Radio, and the official YouTube page for Epis Radio. If you haven't already done so, please follow, subscribe, make sure the notifications on. You get all the latest updates from Epis. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it's just the beginning. It's been a long time coming for me and my partner. We started this years ago, about 3.5, 4 years ago now. And we took a long break. Now we're back. It's been beautiful. So thank you. We've just had the YouTube page up for a little while now, and seems to be gaining a little traction. We've had a couple of videos over 1,000 views, doing okay. So again, that's all thanks to you and for your support. I appreciate it. Hey, it's just the beginning. I think this is now episode 6 officially, and first solo episode since being back. So how about that? Cheers as I sip the beer. Anybody there in the chat, let me know what you're doing on this beautiful Monday afternoon. The sun's out. I ran through 7 miles today. I've been training for a lot of things. I have a half marathon coming up this Sunday in Central Park. It's part of New York City Runs. All right. I believe New York City Runs. Yes, I'm pretty sure on that. New York City Runs, good organization, ran the Brooklyn Half Marathon, which is now known as the Brooklyn Half Experience Marathon. That's held, I believe, in April. Is it April or May? I did that last year. Beautiful marathon. You run by the Barclays Center. You run by a couple of bridges down there in downtown Brooklyn. It's beautiful. Again, training for this half marathon coming up on Sunday in Central Park. It's my first race ever in Central Park. I've been really looking forward to doing that. Central Park was a great place for me growing up, visiting and just spending a lot of time in my younger years, and it's just a beautiful place in general to just be in all the time. Any time of the year, really. Especially this time, love it when it snows. A nice little blanket of snow in Central Park is beautiful. So, hopefully there'll be some snow on the ground still, or on the trees, things like that when I do it. But yeah, again, 7 miles today, training for that. I got a marathon coming up next month as well, full marathon on March 30th. And then in May, I haven't signed up for it yet, but it's on the table, and I guess this is the official announcement now. I intend on running an ultra marathon, my first ever 50 miles long, 18-hour cutoff time, kind of downstate New York for those that live upstate, in New Paltz area. So yeah, it's gonna be really good. Mohonk Preserve for those that know the area. So yeah, 50 miles, 18-hour cutoff. Basically all that I'm doing right now at this moment is training for that, essentially. Again, I haven't officially signed up, but I intended to this week. So that's the good word. That's what Epis is doing right now. So I don't get a chance too much when we're on the show to talk about myself, talk about what's going on. Me and Dubby, we just like to hit the topics of the day, topics of the week, whatever's going on in the world. We don't talk about ourselves enough on here, man. I think that's something that's missed. I know it's sorely missed in our day-to-day life as well. I think that that's what this channel is about. It's not only about just sports talk in general, but it's about gathering, talking amongst each other, and really getting to know one each other at a deeper level. And mediums like this are just it's a wonderful way to do it. So again, thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. But that's what's going on with me a little bit. I've been a little busy outside of the show, training for marathon and ultra marathon, and man, just trying to challenge myself in ways that I never thought was possible. And doing this show is one of those ways. And I have fun doing it. It's therapeutic in a way, and hopefully, you guys enjoyed and something comes out of it, man. I can't complain. It's a beautiful thing. But, so let's get on with it, though. As we now are approaching about 45 minutes on the show. I'm thinking about going for an hour. So I think we're going to roll for about 15 more minutes. We'll see how we're feeling. All right. But NBA, now that the All-Star festivities come to a close, I think you look forward and you wonder, okay, what are we looking at? What are we looking forward to here? And me as a Knicks fan, I do have a lot of expectations. Obviously, if you're looking at the NBA as a whole, you're looking at who are the top tier teams. We've seen OKC. You got to worry about Boston, Cleveland Cavaliers, Denver is a possibility. LA acquiring Luka definitely changes everything. We've noticed that their play has elevated to a whole nother level since acquiring Luka. So you start to wonder, what's going on here. And again, for me as a Knicks fan, I got to realistically take a look at these Knicks and be like, okay, well, who's to say a team like Houston isn't as good as the Knicks? I mean, virtually, we're at the halfway point, right? After the All-Star break, you got a team like Houston, 34-21, Knicks 36-18. Basically, jockeying for similar position in their conferences. Knicks in third, Houston in fourth. Where do these teams lie? Are these teams, at that highest level? Even, on the West, you got Memphis. Do we look at Memphis as if they are a title contender? But they're second in the Western Conference, 8 games back of OKC, albeit. But so is Denver, 8.5. I look at Denver with their pedigree, that they have better shot, than a team like Memphis. So, where does my team lie? Where do the Knicks lie here? Because that's the team that I know most. That's the team that I care about most. And I'm concerned. I'm genuinely concerned about this team going forward. I've liked what they've done up until this point. Obviously, I'm not going to knock it. I love the acquisition of Cat. I think it's a great move. I think the Knicks won that trade hands down. When you look at where Minnesota is, sitting in 7th, 31-25 on the year, 14 games back out of first, so first is not even come close. But 6 games back out of second. There's a big difference there. There's a big gap. Certainly Minnesota got some teams behind them. Golden State being one of them, Dallas Mavericks being another. You could even throw in the Kings, although, it's kind of 50-50 on the Kings at this point. I don't really think, they're going to be a threat, in the late stretch of this season. But you start to wonder, where do you go from here? Because now you pass the trade deadline. These are the rosters you're going to have to roll with. And, I'm not happy if I'm a Knicks fan about this trade deadline. I'm just not. I'm not a fan of it. They didn't do much to really add to this team. It seemingly relying on Mitchell Robinson coming back, who, we constantly being told that he is on his way back. It's now looking towards the end of the month, for them. Maybe he shows up next week. Not too sure. I love Mitch. Been a Mitch guy for a long time, but since the beginning. But this guy clearly, he's another one unable to stay on the court, unable to even be here. He's been non-existent for the Knicks last 3 years. Essentially, it's a good time to have the hiccups. Obviously him coming back would be a huge, difference to the day-to-day for this team, and obviously for a playoff push as well for the Knicks. How he's going to fit, not so sure. I would assume, he's starting, and you put Cat at the 4. But you can mix and match it a little bit. Obviously, I would think, maybe he's not going to start right away. Maybe he comes off the bench a little bit. Hopefully, he's got enough time to where you can, ramp him up, for the playoffs. So you can, bring him off the bench, integrate him into the starting lineup, and he'd be ready to go and stay healthy for the playoffs. That'd be a big addition. It's basically like making a trade at the deadline without making a trade. Say what you want about Mitch, but defensively, he's one of top tier in this league. Second all team in my opinion, defensively, at least. If the guy could stay healthy and be relevant, I think he'd surprise you and put up some good numbers defensively. But something which we just have not seen from him. All right. Another thing is, again, the age-old argument with Tom Thibodeau and how he plays his players, and how he utilizes his depth, which is virtually, again, non-existent with him. Is this going to be an issue? And you know what? I don't even care anymore. I don't want to argue it anymore. I don't even want to talk about it. If this is what he wants to do, then so be it. Let's do it. Let's ride with it. I don't care if he decides to play 7 guys or 8 guys, 9 guys. There's no chance he's going to be throwing out 10 guys come playoff time. But, if he wants to, and roll with just 7 guys, fine. So be it. Ride or die. But let me tell you, if they... Again, I don't see why this is not a title contending team. You got to look at it like this. I don't look at it as we're going into the playoffs like, we're just going to make a good run. And, no. As good as Cleveland is, as good as Boston is, we got to beat those teams. Those are the teams we got to beat. That's what's in our way. Anybody outside of that should not be a threat. If you're On the other side of the coin in the West, if I reference Houston kind of being in a similar spot, screw the Lakers, even though the Lakers are right there, they're breathing down your throat 2 games out, in the win column. Screw the Lakers. You're looking ahead. Hey, we got to beat Denver. We got to beat Grizzlies. We got to beat OKC. Can they beat them? I don't know. Probably not. But I don't know if anybody's beating OKC. I truly think like they're the one dominant team in this league. I think their path to the NBA Finals could be swift. I truly do believe so. I think there's a lot of potential there for them. I don't see that in the East. I just don't. I know it's not. It doesn't feel the same for me when I look at Boston now. Boston could be, pulling a Kansas City on me. And they could just kind of be going through the motions. And, all right, they're only 5.5 games back of Cleveland. Knicks, you got 2.5 back of Boston. So, they're right there. You know what I'm saying? They're right there. They're not, they theoretically, they could take the number 1 seed away from Cleveland here. Anything is possible, and then ultimately, Cleveland and OKC finished with the same record, 44-10. So, there's a path for Boston to come out at the end of the year with the best record. Will they? Probably not, just based on the fact that they're probably going to rest some guys throughout this process, and just do enough to maintain that good second position. Ideally, yes, would they like number 1? I think a part of them wants to go after that. And we'll see, if they could get hot right out the gate here, Boston go on a run, maybe they just, go 10, 12 straight. Cleveland, they haven't lost much. They only lost 10 in the first half of the season, essentially. Well, it's not the first half. I keep on saying that. 54 games is more than a half a season, only 82 games in a season. But essentially, at that All-Star break being that half. Down in the final stretch here, there's a path for them getting there. It's a tough sledding, especially when you have a team that's only lost 10. You're down back 5.5. But, I guess there's a path there. I don't know if the 2 teams play each other. But that's most likely what you're looking at. Again, for the Knicks, I'm not scared of the Pacers. I'm not scared of the Bucks. I shouldn't be scared of teams like the Pistons, Magic, Hawks, even though the Hawks are the freaking Knicks kryptonite. And that's probably the one team I honestly would be absolutely frightened to see in a round 1. Let me tell you, talk about an upset. I might even hedge my bets come the day off. If that happens, I'm going to let Dubby know. I even said I'm going to probably write this down. If it's... I might write this down for the show. If it's Knicks, Hawks, first round, not only will I be in the building, but I probably am going to hedge my bet because that is the one team I'm afraid to actually see. Miami's another one. Just because of Miami, the history with these teams frightens me a little bit as well. But if it's Knicks, Hawks, especially with the way we played them this year, I think the Hawks, I think we played twice. The Hawks got 2 wins on us. And the last one was like down to the wire. We were up big, but Knicks, kind of bringing them back in late there in the game. Don't let it happen. All right, just don't let it happen. I know this could be a new look Knicks team with Mitchell Robinson and everything like that. A little bit more pep in the step. We got a little bit more depth. We're rolling. We're rocking. Don't let it happen. Okay, just please. They're sitting at the 3 seed right now. Hawks at the 8. All right, they're only 3 back of Detroit. So if the Knicks were to finish in third, you would go up against the 6. So Detroit would be that 6 team right now. Honestly, I like that for the Knicks. That's a nice little, all right, let's slop them up, maybe gentleman's sweep, you know. Well, no, did they go 4 games in the first round? I'd honestly be getting confused with the with either sports now, with the formats. Either way, you know, whether it be the gentleman's seat for 1 or they go and they're winning 3, 3-1 there, you know, or is it 2 out of 3? I don't know. I think that would be a great start for them, you know, to a playoff introduction. But again, you know, why for the Knicks? I guess that number 1 seed's out of it now, 8 back. They kind of just fell too far back there. I don't think that's realistic for them to catch. Could they get a 2? Sure, but it's going to have to be passing Boston unless Cleveland miraculously falls off in some way. But again, I don't see that happen. It's just not possible. And it looks like they're pretty comfortable in that 3rd slot, honestly, because Pacers 13.5 back, ultimately at the 1st slot. And, you know, for the Knicks, that's a considerable amount, 5.5. You know, back of the Knicks, between that 4th and 3rd. So, and then you got, you know, Milwaukee 14.5, you know, just a game more, 6.5, 7.5, Detroit. So Knicks are very comfortable in that slot right now. Again, what does that mean for them? What does that mean for them going forward here, going into the season? I as a Knicks fan, I'm not going to just bow down, you know, Cleveland's better, it's their year. Like, no, that's nonsense. Like, we are the top 3 team in the East. Like, we should have as good a shot as anybody. And, you know, things happen. Injuries happen. Who knows? You know, I don't wish injury on anybody, but, you know, you got a banged up Darius Garland, and who knows? All of a sudden, you know, this series is looking a lot different. Maybe Mitchell, you know, kind of goes down. You know, I don't know. Or, you know, just doesn't perform well. I don't want to wish injury upon anybody. But maybe just doesn't show up, doesn't play to that level. This team, that Cleveland is so good depth-wise, that I have my issues when it comes to the Knicks, because that's where they're dominant in, is their depth, their size as well. I don't think it's a great matchup for the Knicks, and it worries me. I think adding Mitchell Robinson to that mix can change things, but he has to be the Mitch of old. He really has to come to play. You know, he has to be giving you significant minutes with significant energy and play like we've seen from him in the past, like we know that he's capable of doing. Because, honestly, outside of that, I don't see a path for the Knicks here. I really don't. I think they fell short of the trade deadline. And, you know, for a team like Boston, who, you know, has gotten it done years past, you know, they're looking to repeat. They're looking to do their thing. I'm not so worried. They have an update. They've been there before. They've done that. You know, they seemingly have, you know, walked their way to a second seed in the East and not played their best ball. It's kind of reminiscent of what we've seen from the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL season this year. You know, it's similar in that sense, you know, where they weren't really giving you their best, but they're good enough to get you there, to get you the big game, to get you to the big spot. So, again, I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit worried when it comes to my team, man. You know, this is not a good look for them. They had a great first half. Brunson, all-star game. Cat, all-star game. Beautiful thing. I don't know how Josh Hart doesn't make it. Maybe if LeBron James, you know, wasn't, you know, taking up a roster bar, he'd be there. But, you know, again, we'll see, you know, looking forward, putting the All-Star weekend behind us, we'll see what this means for the New York Knicks. We'll see what this means for other teams around the league. Denver Nuggets, you know, do the Nuggets have another run in them? You know, can they take down OKC? Get OKC, you know, all the hype that they've been building. Getting a Holmgren added to this lineup late in the first half of the season. Now integrating him. What does this mean for them? Did they just get better? You know what I'm saying? Are they going to reach a level where nobody's going to even come close to them? In the playoffs. Well, they might just breeze right through, like we seen Boston do last year. I don't know. A lot of storylines going on. A lot to unfold. Who knows what we're going to see? When do the games kick off again? Obviously, I think they give you a couple of days before basketball resumes. So, looking like... was tomorrow. So tomorrow, no game scheduled. That's Tuesday. All right, and Wednesday, February 19th, so it kicks off again. What do you know? Charlotte, Los Angeles Lakers, 10 p.m. time. It's the only game that's going on. And, geez, Lakers minus 13.5 line there. Honestly, I might just pick that. That might be the Epis pick of the day on that one. If I had to choose, because there's only one game in there, but Hornets, everything that LA has been doing, both guys. Let's see, maybe if LeBron's not playing, maybe I change my mind on that come Wednesday. So, but it'd be pretty interesting to see that LeBron does not participate in the All-Star game, complaining about injury, and then he doesn't show. He plays in Wednesday's game against the Hornets in LA, and with Luka, I don't know, man. That'd be interesting to see. I don't know if I take the line minus 13. I know. Listen, it's Charlotte. They ain't going nowhere in the grand scheme, but I still have my thoughts about taking them against that line of minus 13.5. Tough. Not easy. Tickets as low as $136, by the way, in LA. So, pricey ticket there. The only other place that I know that's that expensive is New York, man. You look at New York, Chicago on Thursday. Tickets as low as $167. And interestingly enough, New York also a minus 13.5 for the Chicago game on Thursday. So, expecting a blowout there, too. We'll see. You got New York, Cleveland. That's coming up on Friday. So, that's the big match that's coming up at the end of the week here as we kick off our week today on this Monday. You got New York, Cleveland. So, we'll definitely be talking a little bit of that. It's going to be the premier ESPN matchup, 7 p.m. On Friday. And you got Minnesota, Houston, 9 following that game on ESPN at 9:30. So that's also, we talked about those two teams before earlier in the segment, and those are two teams that we got to look out for as well going forward. Minnesota obviously on the other end of the Nick trade deal, sending Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo over there. Can they turn it around? Can they make a push? Can Ant will his team to a playoff run? Houston. They definitely took care of my Knicks in a good way when they faced off against them. Can they continue to do what they're doing? Can they actually be a force, in the West, come playoff time? We're going to get into it, because now this is it. Football's done. Baseball is ramping up, but we still got a ways away for that, all right, till we see actual real baseball, because, listen, I'm going to be down there in spring training, down there in Florida with Dub, but, it's certainly, not real baseball in the grand scheme, at least when you get late March, all right, then, things start ramping up there a little bit, but I'll be down there, checking that out, but now's the time for basketball. Basketball takes the lead. Same thing with hockey a little bit, although, I know, New York is not a big hockey town, but nationally, if you want to talk about it, we're here for it, man. I'm here for the conversation. It's a beautiful thing, but a lot of storylines with the NBA. Even the NFL is ongoing. We've got that draft. A lot to talk about with local teams and just overall. How's the landscape going to change? Will we see some rule changes for next year? MLB, spring training reports. A lot of talk about salary cap. I mentioned in a couple of shows back the potential of adopting a salary cap in baseball. I'm hearing owners might join up in that fight and might propose a salary cap in baseball and might shake things up a little bit. And there could be a walkout of some kind in MLB. So, there's a lot looming. Who knows? Obviously we've seen things get out of hand. LA Dodgers really take the money to a whole nother level. I have my thoughts about a salary cap in baseball. I'm starting to lean in the other direction where I don't think it's necessarily going to change things. I think the big market teams will still succeed in a post-salary cap era. But who knows? There's a lot to break down about it. Neeksy, thank you for joining the chat. Not sure what this is all about, but yeah. Appreciate you stopping by. Hit the follow if you haven't already done so. But yeah, man, a lot going on again in the landscape of things. It's going to get heavy with the NBA baseball talks on here. As for the show, as we look to wrap it up, a little over an hour today. Thank you for tuning in. Pretty good show, pretty good solo show. Without my co-host today, he was doing his thing, working. So decided I'd get on here and, do my thing a little bit as I have the chance. Again, thank you for tuning in, everybody. We wet the palate a little bit. One other thing that I did want to mention, cool little mention, I'm not going to spend too much time talking on it, but, if you're a fan of the show, and especially this being a sports show and relevant, I thought I'd mention it. Frankie Muniz, all right, my wife pointed this out to me. The actor Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle finished in 10th place in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Daytona International Speedway on February 15th this month. It was 2 days ago at the time of this recording. How about that, right? Like, that's just a cool story. Frankie, has been racing since 2008 after a major injury that caused him to take a 14-year break. It's really interesting, his story and everything that, has happened with him. And, you've heard interviews with him mentioning that he has no recollection of the show, Malcolm in the Middle, things like that. After his injuries and after the crash, and it's a big testament to him to be able to come out and do his thing, and not only compete, but compete at a pretty high level. Finishing 10th in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Daytona. Just phenomenal. Cool little story, cool little tidbit to end the show today. I like to hear things like that. I was a big fan of the show growing up, so just to could you imagine, not having a recollection of having this famed career and ultimately, seemingly, all right, I'm just going to, pick up racing, do my thing in this, sport, which, is not necessarily an easy thing to do. Who knew that he had it in him, the whole time, so it's pretty cool to see that. And, hey, if you're into NASCAR, I'm sure you're following his career, or, if you haven't already, maybe do so. And it's pretty cool just to see that. So, we're going to end the show on that note, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I appreciate it. Good show today. Epis Radio, episode, is it 6 now? Episode 6. Thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Again, if you haven't already done so, check the handles there, right there on the screen. You can find them in our profile on Twitch as well. All the handles to my page, Dubby's page, on Instagram, YouTube, even Facebook up there as well. Well, we may be getting rid of the Facebook page. We'll see. I don't think, we'll be doing too much on there going forward. But again, YouTube Live is in the works. That is going to be around any day soon now. We'll let you know. Again, if you haven't already done so, please hit the follow button and subscribe and keep those notifications on so that you get all the latest updates from Epis Radio. All right, we like to post little shorts on our Instagram page and on YouTube, so please tune in for that. Okay, folks, not going to hold you any longer. Without further ado, okay, until next time, the motto of the show is keep showing up. Thank you. On behalf of me and my co-host, Dubois, I appreciate you for tuning in. And before we go, keep showing up. All right.
Broadcasting from the capital of sports, it's the Matty B Show. Right here on Epis Sports Radio. Matty B on Epis Sports Radio.
And swung on and hit in the air. To deep right center. That ball is high. That is far. It is gone.
Epis Sports Radio.
Very deep as White hits one deep to left field. Headley back.